Baldwin lines up in third position from Costa Rica. And in fourth place, hear the cheer in the background for Team Italy and Stefano Conti. Norway with Tommy Oskar lines up in fifth position. And alongside Tommy, it is Team Hungary with Benjamin Barder behind the wheel. Poland line up in seventh position. A lot of support for them here with Marcin Frederick behind the wheel. Chinese Taipei behind the wheel of the number 8 machine there. Ninth position is James Baldwin for the United Kingdom. How will James get on? Just made it through in the repechage, as did the Netherlands driver of Leon Ackermann. Sweden line up in P11. That's Robin Noble behind the wheel. And Team Malaysia with Mior Hafiz down in P12. So you can see on the left-hand side of your screen a first look at the tyre compounds for these drivers. Interestingly, the top 3 teams are on the soft compound of tyre. Then you can see hard compounds there for Italy and Norway, medium for Hungary there in the middle, soft for Poland, hard for Chinese Taipei, then UK, also Sweden and Malaysia, and the soft compound there in the middle of that gaggle for the Netherlands as well. So interesting to see how strategies will play out, what you should expect with the hard compound. Get those off as soon as possible. You don't want to be on those tyres for any longer than you need to be because they are the slowest compound of tyre and you only have to run them for 1 lap. And if you do the rest of the race on a medium or soft, why would you not do that? But I could be wrong. Let's wait and see how it all plays out. Germany, Australia and Costa Rica are on the soft compound, so they're going to try and break away from the rest of the field early doors. But what will happen then? Let's wait and find out, shall we? The 2019 FIA Motorsport Games Grand Final here in Rome in Italy is underway then. And Germany leads the field over the timing line. Australia slotting themselves into second. Costa Rica in there as well as they come on the long run down to the first corner. Germany versus Australia as they come side by side down to T1. Pick your braking point, boys, and don't go too late. Australia trying to go around the outside. Germany on the inside there. Bit of drivers going off and further back as Norway running a bit wide, but Germany and Australia are still side by side through turn 3, and Germany eventually gets the upshot as they come down into T4, but no quarter given as Lankowski tries to hold it around the outside in turn 4. That is brilliant there from Cody Lankowski, and still they're side by side, but down into T5, squeezing there from Mick Hazal, but the inside line for Cody Lankowski means he does inherit the lead, and now Cody Nikola Lankowski for Australia leads the way. Germany in second, Costa Rica in third, and Team Poland in fourth place. So the soft compound tyres, as you would expect, significantly faster in these opening stages of the race. Italy still there in P5, but they're a bit of a sitting duck, and certainly after running wide like that, a bit of contact I think as well helped there by the Netherlands. And now all the soft compound tyre drivers are in the top positions in this race. You saw Hungary there having a look at Italy as well. Hungary on the medium tyres and Italy on the hard, so of course they're significantly faster at this stage here as well. Meanwhile, it's been an absolute shocker of a start to the race for Norway. They started in P5, they're down in P12 after this opening lap here. Oh, and a spin for Hungary out of the chicane. Benjamin Barder sends it round and drops down. Italy, meanwhile, come into the pit lane off the hard contact tyres, onto the softs. Everybody else on the hards trying to follow suit. Some go for medium, some go for softs. Here come Germany, though, and Australia side by side for the race lead. Germany on the outside, Australia on the inside, and Mikael Hazal for Germany goes through into the race lead. Brilliant stuff there for Germany. So now it is Hazal advantage. Australia in second, Costa Rica in third, 2 seconds adrift in P3. Netherlands are in P4, they're 1.3 seconds back. So this is going to be very interesting indeed to see how it all plays out for these guys. Of course, they have the honour, if they finish on the top step, of becoming the inaugural 2019 FIA Motorsports Games GT Digital Cup winner. And if you think that's a mouthful, you wait till they have to announce that on the podium as well. But Australia now in second position. And does Cody Nikola Lankowski have any answer to Mikael Hazal at this stage? Hazal, of course, if you watch the Gran Turismo World Tour events that we partake in, and he has partaken in, he's won one so far this year in Salzburg, and has been very competitive in a lot of others as well, finishing second on 2 other occasions, so he is definitely one to watch. Cody Nikola Lakowski, meanwhile, just 19 years old, has won in the Manufacturers Series as opposed to the Nations Cup in the GT World Tour in New York and Salzburg. And a moment there for Lakowski coming through into the final corner. That could really put pace to his race and laws him into the clutches of Bernie Valverde, who takes profit and inherits second position. So Valverde, at the blink of an eye, is now through into P2, but Lakowski is going to try and fight back. Valverde goes defensive, Lakowski on the outside, side by side they come through turn 1, but it is Valverde with the advantage, and Valverde with the position into second place there for the Costa Rican driver. So very interesting stuff here. Now you've got Australia with just over a second, just under a second's advantage to the Netherlands and to Leon Ackermann, who is in P4 at the moment. There is the Dutch driver on the soft compound of tyres. That's really impressive actually from Leon Ackermann. He started this race down in 10th position. He's now up into P4 after a blinding opening few laps here. Of course, there's strategy to take into account here in this race as well. Who will pit and when? Will we see the overcuts or undercuts being made? Will Lakowski opt to go into the pit lane after running behind Valverde and try and get himself out of the traffic, out of contention for this battle for the time being, and try and get some clean air, and then inherently try and overcut the likes of Valverde and potentially even Mikael Hazal, although Hazal's got a good enough advantage, just under 3.5 seconds as things stand at the moment. But it's getting very tense indeed between these drivers to see how it all plays out. And Leon Ackermann very much looking comfortable behind the wheel of the car. You can see, oh no, but I say that and the commentator's curse is alive and well as Ackermann spins it over on the curb. What have I said? Leon Ackermann spins it round, loses 4th place in the Heritage as well. So up into P3 goes Stefano Conti for Italy, and that is him now into 4th position. You can see there just in the background Poland with a penalty as well for one reason or another. There is Ackermann over the sausage curb, upsets the balance of the car, spins it, pirouettes it round, and has to recover it and get himself back in contention of the race. And now he's lost out to Team Poland, and also James Baldwin for the UK coming into play here as well. So that is Christmas come early, actually, for this man here, Cody Nikola Lakowski in P3, because he now has just a bit of breathing room behind him now, just to try and settle into a rhythm here in this race, because he was very much on the back foot with Ackermann bearing down on him following that mistake that he made. And, well, it could prove to be very inspired here for Cody Nikola Lakowski. Meanwhile, Mikael Hazal is in a different postcode for Team Germany at the moment. 3.8 seconds he sits over the rest of the field at the moment. Meanwhile, there is the UK putting the pressure onto the Netherlands then. Poland with that half-second penalty for exceeding track limits just in the front of his shot, just coming through the penalty zone we are now. Serves the penalty, moves off the racing line. The Netherlands, though, and Ackermann trying to attack. Here comes Baldwin down the inside at turn 10 of Lakaisha. He goes through into 6th position. Great move there for James Baldwin. Timed that to perfection. Sold Ackermann a dummy going into that corner. Sent it up the inside. And now he's through into P6. So his next target will be the Polish team. Behind the wheel of the Polish car at the moment is Marcin Szwiderek on the softer compound of tyres. Of course, Netherlands haven't made a pit stop here in this race, so this is even more impressive, whereas the UK has. Poland in front of them have not. So a little bit out of position here, you would say, for the UK at the moment, but inherently a very good battle that is going on. Meanwhile, as Chinese Taipei changed positions, and the UK changed positions as well. Down the inside and through into P5 there for James Baldwin. Nice driving for the Briton. He's through into 5th place. He'll be happy with that one there. And now he's got a 5.6 second gap to make up to Italy. Bit of a tall order, but the most thing he can do now is just run in clean air on this soft tyre, make that stint as long as he possibly can, for as viably possible as he possibly can as well. There's no point running on soft compound tyres, of course, if the tyres are completely flapped out. You want to be running on those whilst they're in good working order, and whilst he's not in dirty air and he's not trying to find his way back through on other cars, then in theory James Baldwin is in the pound seats here, as are Italy there as well. They're of course having made a pit stop and are also on the softer compound of tyres. So lap 5 of 19 we're on here in the final for the 2019 FIA Motorsport Games, but it's beginning to settle down here, and that's what you see generally in these longer races, in the mid-stints. when drivers have made their first pit stop, it will begin to settle down a little bit, and then in the end of the race, when everyone's on different tyre compounds and running different strategies, that generally is when it begins to come alive. So just keep an eye out for that one, and hold your horses for now, because it could get very exciting in the closing stages of this race. Hungary in 8th place, Sweden in 9th, in 11th rather I should say, and Norway in 12th are on the medium compound of tyres, as the Netherlands do finally come in from their soft compound of tyres after 6 laps, onto the mediums then for their middle stint in the race. So they're of course going to be on the hard compound of tyres now at the end of that race, and that could be very interesting actually here, because that's the slowest compound of tyres. So depending on where they are on track and what everybody else is doing in terms of their strategy, that could prove to be a very interesting call indeed. And by interesting, I mean a poor call for Leon Ackermann. But let's wait and see and find out how things will happen. Here's the Chinese Taipei driver. You can just see there in P8. And driving behind the wheel of the Chinese Taipei car is Yingteng Chu, or Cho rather I should say. Started racing at the age of 5 and has competed in various World Tour events for the Gran Turismo. He's currently 12th actually in the Asian region standings as well. So a driver who's held in very high esteem and did a great job to make it through here to the racing after his semi-final. And now he's attacking Hungary and Benjamin Barder. It's been a bad race to forget for Benjamin Barder, and it's about to get worse as Chinese Taipei try and go the long way around the outside. Slight lock-up on the brakes there into turn 10, and Chinese Taipei and Yingteng Chu go through then into P7. So good driving there for Chinese Taipei. Don't forget though, they are of course on the soft compound of tyres, so they will, as you would expect, be faster than Hungary at the moment, as Australia and Costa Rica come in from the pit lane then. And interestingly, Australia and Cody Nikolai-Lukovsky have gone for the soft compound of tyres here, whereas Costa Rica have gone soft to mediums, and I'm not quite sure what's happening there with Cody Nikolai-Lukovsky. That could be a very poor strategy call or a mistake, because of course he's got to run all 3 tyre compounds in this race. And here come Italy, going the long way around the outside and chopping the nose off of Costa Rica through turn 3. That was aggressive there from Stefano Conti, and Valverde tries to challenge, tries to find his way back through, but can't quite manage to do so as they come down into turn number 5. And now Australia all over the back like a bad rash of Costa Rica then. Up into turn 7 we go, Australia up the inside, here comes Lukovsky. Does he make it through? Yes he does. He's now into 3rd place on the soft compound of tyres, but the thing is, I'm sure Lukovsky's going to have to pit again. He's going to have to make 2 more pit stops here in this race. I don't quite know what he's doing here. Maybe he's trying to run a longer stint on the soft compound of tyres and then do 1 lap on the mediums, 1 lap on the hards at the end of that one. The problem with that is, of course, you've got to make 2 pit stops. You're losing double the amount of time. So unless you've got 10, 15 seconds in hand, I just don't see how that's going to be a strategy that's going to pay off for him. All the meanwhile, though, the race leader hasn't pitted. This is the race leader of Mikael Hazal. Oh, and he's had a spin. Oh, dear. Mikael Hazal has had a spin then over the curb. And that is not the way he would have wanted to have done that lap at all. And he has lost a good amount of time here. And he comes out of the pit lane now. So, where has he emerged? Now, he's gone for the soft compound of tyres. So, Hazal and Lukovsky going for the same strategy here in this race. They're going to go for another stint on the softs, then go for the medium and hard tyres for as short a duration as they possibly can. Is that going to be a strategy that's going to pay off? I see what they're trying to do here is they're trying to build up as much of a gap as they possibly can here in these early to mid stages now of this race, and then try and have enough of an advantage to make those 2 pit stops at the end and give themselves a good bit of daylight. Well, I mean, if you look at the World Tour events, Mikael Hazal's strategy is never one to call into question, so maybe he and Cody Nikolai-Lukovsky in P1 and P2 know something that we don't in this race. Maybe that's the situation. We'll find out in about 11 laps time here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia. Meanwhile, in the background there, you can see Italy coming under a bit of pressure here from Costa Rica. Costa Rica on the medium compound of tyres in this race, whereas Italy on the softer compound. So you would inherently expect the Italian team to be a bit faster, but it seems like Costa Rica and Bernie Valverde, the driver who is behind the wheel of that car at the moment, just able to keep a good amount of pace. Let's keep an eye on things and see how they all play out. This is that mid-race lull I was talking about, because it does happen here in these ones when you've got strategies taken to place. Everybody just settling into their own rhythms, and it's in the closing stages where it gets very interesting indeed. I suppose, of course, with Germany and Australia, it does get very interesting as well between those 2 drivers, because, of course, they could go different ways in the mid-range stage of this race. Maybe Mick will go for the hard compound of tyres, and maybe we'll see Lukowski going for the mediums, and they'll be on different strategies at the end of this race. Who knows? Let's wait and find out. As Hungary make their first pit stop from the medium compound of tyres, so a very long first stint onto the hard compound, and they'll want to try and do as minimal amount of time in this race as possible, get themselves onto the soft compound of tyres, and try and run to the end of the race if they possibly can. Of course, bear in mind it's 7 times tyre wear in this race, so that's one thing to consider, in the fact that they will have to bear in mind their tyres will wear out a lot quicker than they would generally. Up into turn 7 and turn 8 we go. There is Bernie Valverde in 4th place. Just beginning to put the pressure then onto Italy. Seems that Stefano Conti for the Italian team, just 22 years old he is, doesn't seem to quite have the pace at the moment as things stand to just try and close up and just keep that gap at a constant to Costa Rica, and subsequently it is allowing the Costa Rican team to close up in P4 at the moment. So be interested to see how it all plays out with that. Bernie Valverde, as we said, he was behind the wheel of that team, the Costa Rican driver, 27 years old. Sorry, not 27 years older, rather, I should say. Won the Manufacturer Series in New York in the GT World Tour. Also races in touring cars as well. Now Italy come into the pit lane here as well, from the soft to the medium compound of tyres. So they make their mid-race change. The UK also in, and James Baldwin into the pit lane then to make another stop here in this race. Italy out after their second stop. Chinese Taipei, rather, I should say, out of the race, out of the pit into the race once again. Hungary coming out as well, so these are the second and final pit stops, and Italy picking up a penalty there for one reason or another. So whether that's exceeding track limits or something along the lines of that, maybe we'll get a replay of it. But Australia now then sitting in second position, trying to run the same strategy as Mikael Hazal, and will we see the German and the Australian driver working together here in this grand final? Fewer now than 9 laps remaining, so we'll be finding out relatively shortly. Italy and Poland, you can see with that tower graphic on the left-hand side of your screen, those flashing red dots indicate that they have been given a penalty, normally for exceeding track limits. There is Italy with a 1.5 second penalty there as well, so it goes from bad to worse for Italy. Thankfully for them, they've got a bit of a buffer to the UK, who are 5.7 seconds back. However, it is going to cause them to lose time against Costa Rica. So it's all to work to do now here in these closing stages for Stefano Conti. Here's what happened between themselves and Australia. Down in towards turn 1 we go. They're sweeping, they're swiping, they're ducking, they're diving. Down to the first corner. Was there any contact between them? I think it was just unsafe defending there from Italy, and Stefano Conti just moving too much on the start-finish straight. More than one movement, and that is what he received that penalty there for. Here's the Chinese Taipei team. Ying Chen-Chu behind the wheel of that car at the moment on the medium tyres, closing up onto the back of Poland. Hardly mentioned Poland actually over the course of this race, and Poland, being driven by Marcin Shrederick, only started playing Gran Turismo Sport actually back in April 2018, but has ascended through the local ranks very quickly indeed, and is doing a very good job out there in 7th position so far, but is still coming a threat from the Chinese Taipei driver through the long right-hander of turn 3. Of course, these cars, very high downforce, the Red Bull X 2019s. I'll talk to you more about them in a few moments' time, but of course there is a lot of dirty air to consider in the fact that the car gets caught behind them, and the front will begin to wash out wide. They'll begin to oversteer like a dog on a polished floor, and it will just cause them to spin up the tyres and lose front grip on their tyres as well. So these are all things you've got to consider when you're driving these cars, and driving in a bit of traffic as well. But in terms of the Red Bull X 2019s, well, the original one actually came out back in Gran Turismo 5 as a fictional car within Gran Turismo, and it was designed by Adrian Newey. And basically they said to him, well, if you could have a blank canvas to design a single-seater Formula car, what would it be? And this is the car that he came up with. Well, it was the X 2010 was what he came up with originally. The X 2019 is a more developed version of that. Australia, meanwhile, coming to the pits, and again going soft to soft, so they are really trying to stretch out the softs here in this race. That's bold. That is very bold indeed here for Cody Nicola Lukowski. So he's literally, I think, going to try and do 1 lap on the mediums, 1 lap on the hards, and try and make a 4-stop race over the course of 19 laps. I don't know if that's going to work, you know. I imagine 2 stints, maybe you could try and pull something up. Maybe you could try and make it work, but 2 stops, 2 more tyre compounds to go on for Cody Nicola Lukowski, unless Mikael Hazal follows suit here. I just don't know if that is going to work. But we'll wait to see, we'll wait to find out. Meanwhile, Norway coming into the pit lane there from P12. They're also going soft to soft once again, so Those soft compound tyres with the 7 times tyre wear quite clearly wearing out very quickly here at this Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. That is not ideal at all, because they will have to make more pit stops than they were bargaining for, and that is what we've seen with Australia at the moment. Will we see Michael Hazal following suit? Meanwhile, now the Netherlands ahead of Poland. There is Poland in P7. Quiet race for them so far. They are on the medium compound of tyres and being closed up on by Sweden, who are on the soft compound of tyres. You can see Sweden there in P8, just running through the right hand, a little bit wide there actually through Kamsa, but having a relatively good line. So let's keep an eye out and see how Sweden are able to close that gap. Behind the wheel of the Swedish car, it is Robin Noborg, 27 years old, former kart racer turned sim racer. Also got a bit of experience of driving at the Nordschleife as well, and doing a good job there of just beginning to close that gap down on the Polish team. So then Poland come into the pit lane, Sweden carry on for another lap. So off of the medium compound of tyres there for Poland, back onto the soft. So everybody's just going to try and do one lap on the hard tyre. They know it's an unfavoured tyre, they know it's not ideal to be competing on. And Poland emerge out of the pit lane just ahead of Team Malaysia then, who have again had a very quiet race here so far. Down in P12 is where Malaysia started, sitting in 9th place at the moment. It's not been ideal there for him. What about James Baldwin here? He won the world's fastest gamer competition and will actually be racing in GT4 and GT3 in 2020. He was a former racer actually, was James Baldwin. Great to see him doing so well running in this race. Won the 2019 E-Race of Champions competition earlier on this year as well. So running there in P5 on the medium tyres on this middle stint. So he's opting on the fact that he's not having to make an extra 2 pit stops in this race, is James at the moment. And hopefully we'll be able to close up that deficit. You can see he is closing up onto the back of Team Italy. 2 seconds the gap between Italy and the UK for P4 and P5 at the moment as they come through the right-hander down in towards the final sequence in this lap, of course, which was added to the Grand Prix calendar back in 2007. And we'll devise opinion on whether it's popular or not, but either way we have to compete with it. There is Australia though, and there is Cody Nikolakowski again all over the back of Michael Hazal. So that extra pit stop has not halted Team Australia and Cody Nikolakowski here, and this could be very interesting indeed, because of course Hazal's tyres are going to be very much past their best here, but Nikolakowski has closed that gap down having made an extra pit stop, so it could be advantage Cody Nikolakowski as things stand. Malaysia meanwhile out of the pit lane onto the soft compound of tyres here. We're going to see a flurry of last minute pit stops in this race onto the hard compound of tyres. But it's all to play for in terms of the lead of the race. And the problem is that Michael Hazal, he's in a catch-22 situation here. He can't pit now because he's going to drop behind Cody Nikolakowski. Of course, he'll have fresher tyres, but he will have dropped back, and that gap, I'm sure it will be too big. That's the problem. Let's keep an eye out and see how things go meanwhile. On board here with Nikolakowski, you can see in there visibly much more grip he has got underneath him at the moment. Those soft compound of tyres clearly a lot fresher, clearly providing more grip and clearly working very well indeed. And Michael Hazal just looks like a bit of a sitting duck as things stand. Through the final corner we go, and surely it's only a matter of time with Nikolakowski having the advantage of the slipstream. More grip underneath him before he thinks about a move. Will he think about a launch down into T1? He's got great slipstream. Hazal goes defensive. Side by side we come. Australia versus Germany, and Australia leads in the grand final for the 20. Oh, and Michael Hazal goes off at turn 2. Hazal makes a mistake, and that could be the Germans' race run here in Catalunya in the grand final for the Motorsport Games. Let's see it again. Down into T1 we go. Here's Hazal, too eager on the power, slips it off onto the gravel trap. Well, he was lucky that it wasn't far worse than that, but that is a big shame there for Michael Hazal, who has now got a 7.3 second gap. So I reckon second could be the best that he will hope for, and that is Christmas come early, meanwhile, for Australia and Cody Nikolakowski. Hungary, meanwhile, Norway have made 3 pit stops in this race. Chinese Taipei, meanwhile, with Yiteng Chu behind the wheel of the car. in ninth position there. They've made 2. Here come the Netherlands now ahead of Poland down into T5. That looked very aggressive indeed there from the Netherlands. And Leon Ackermann. Here come Poland though on the soft corner tyres, trying to fight back down into the turn 7 we go. And up the inside and through into 6th position there for Team Poland. So nicely done for the Polish team. Great driving behind the wheel for Marcin Szydryk. Limited experience he has on GT Sport, but through into 6th position. Let's have a look at the replay. Here is Australia. I think they've had a spin. They have, and that's Lakowski. So everybody's making mistakes out in front. Didn't allow Hazal to close up. It did, but not to find his way through. Germany and Hazal comes into the pit lane then for their stop, and they go onto the medium compound of tyres here for the closing stages of this race. So not opting to emulate the same strategy as Cody Lakowski. Of course, Lakowski here, he has got to make another pit stop in this race. And is that going to allow Costa Rica and Germany potentially to come back into the foray? I think we could see Costa Rica and Bernie Valverde ready to spring a few surprises in the remaining 3 laps in this race. Netherlands come out of the pit lane then on their final stages. They're on the hard compound of tyres. Here we are though, side by side for Malaysia and Chinese Taipei on the outside. Malaysia on the inside. Through they go. Malaysia into 9th place, but they run it wide. Mior Hafiz runs it wide, but he holds on to P9. So the Malaysian does make it through into 9th position here. That is absolutely brilliant driving from Mior Hafiz to manage to find his way through. He's on the softer compound of tyres, of course, but very impressive stuff there from him. Meanwhile, the question is about Cody Lakowski. What can he do? He's going to make 2 more pit stops here in this race. He's going to run the medium and the hard tyres. He's only going to be able to do that until the end of lap 17. But Costa Rica and Bernie Valverde, who are sitting in 2nd position here, let's not forget, are in the pound seats, I reckon. Now here come Australia, and Costa Rica and Bernie Valverde are going to take over at the front in this race. Now, what are they going to do? So Valverde has pulled a blinder here, and he leads the grand final for the 2019 Motorsport Games. But here come Australia. They come out very level pegging, but Australia don't have any opportunity to do it, but they come across the white line on pit lane exit, and we could see the stewards investigating that one, I reckon, because he came out of the pit lane and they were told yesterday in the driver's briefing to not cross the white line on pit lane exit, and he did so to try and get himself back into the slipstream of the Costa Rican driver. However, that could prove to be his downfall here, Cody Lakowski. Let's wait and see what will happen. I suppose the only advantage here for Nikola Lakowski is he's got fresher rubber underneath him, albeit with the medium compound of tyre. The thing is, now is when he would like the soft compound of tyre underneath him. That's the problem, because Costa Rica are on the soft compound. They'll in theory be a little bit quicker, but for the fact that their tyres will be a little bit more clapped out. Oh, and Lakowski making mistakes like that, running wide out of T8 into T9 is not going to help him close down. We ride on board now with the Australian driver. In towards the hairpin of turn 10 of Lacaisha we go. Sitting pretty through there, flicking it left, then flicking it right. And now can Lakowski do anything? He's going to make 1 more pit stop, let's not forget. And that could prove to be very costly indeed for Nikola Lakowski. It's a bold strategy call. Of course, the other advantage for him is that while everybody else has made 2 pit stops, they've got to make another one here in this race. So let's wait and see what will happen. No, in fact, they don't have to. Oh, and Germany, and again, Michael Hazal with another spin. It's gone from bad to worse for Hazal. He has another one trying to get back onto the track and nearly collected there by the United Kingdom. So Michael Hazal with absolutely huge drama here. He comes into the pit lane then onto the hard compound of tyres for the final time over the curb, same as he did before, and Hazal spins it. Well, that is just unlucky there from Michael Hazal. Back onto track, trying to get going and spins it around again. And James Baldwin there is just so lucky not to collect him. And Germany now emerging behind Sweden. So what can you say about Team Germany leading the race, looking commanding, looking in control, but now looking on the back foot. Speaking on the back foot, here is Australia, Costa Rica in the front of your shot. I'm sure Valverde's got to make another pit stop, though. I don't remember him being on the hard compound of tyres. This is the final lap, the penultimate lap, the last chance, the final chance they have got to do so, to make these final pit stops in this race if they've done a double stint on the soft compound of tyres. But you can see visibly that Lakowski is quicker. If they've both gone to the hard compound, that'll make it a bit of interesting onto the final lap. But I can't recall Valverde at least being on the hard compound of tyres. But let's wait and see Through into the left-hander we go, into the final chicane. Do they both come into the pit lane and peel in for one last time? And Costa Rica spins! The race leader spins! Oh my goodness me, on the penultimate lap! And Valverde may have thrown it all away here. They both come on to the hard compound of tyres. And you can visibly hear from my commentary position the frustration from Bernie Valverde as he spun coming out of there. And Australia do emerge into the race lead on the final lap. Let's see again. Into the chicane we go. Costa Rica over the curb, spins it up, unsettles the car. Lukovsky has to take avoiding action. And that could have cost a race here for Valverde and for Costa Rica. My goodness, it is so dramatic, this race. And I tell you what, I was not expecting Cody Lukovsky to be doing as well as he is. He's made 4 stops here in this race. And against all the odds, it's helped having mistakes with other drivers from Costa Rica and from Germany as well. But it has been absolutely blinding, that strategy is called. He's kept his nose clean but for one spin in this race, and now he's looking as comfortable as he ever has done. So Cody Nikola Lukovsky then, what can you say about the Australian driver? Just 19 years of age he is, and he is driven with the maturity of somebody twice that age and twice the experience. Just a couple more corners now to go, the final sector for Cody Nikola Lukovsky. I tell you what, Bernie Valverde will be ruining that mistake. The Costa Rican driver, he gave it as good as he could. He tried as hard as he could. If he hadn't spun at this point on the last lap, who knows what might have been, but it's going to be second best on this occasion for Costa Rica and Valverde as Cody Nikola Lukovsky comes over the line and Australia win the FIA Motorsport Games Grand Final here in Rome in Italy, and Lukovsky finally takes the win. He's fought so hard in the World Tour event in Gran Turismo, and now he is on the top step. Valverde and Costa Rica finishing second, and Italy on the top step, or the third step of the podium, I should say, in P3 for Stefano Conti. The UK, well, they were there and thereabouts in P4, Sweden in 5th, Germany in 6th, Poland finish over the line in 7th, then Malaysia, the Netherlands, Hungary, Norway, Chinese Taipei come over the line down in P12. What happened to them at the end of that race? Sadly, it did not go their way at all, but that was hugely impressive from our drivers here.
Cody Nikola Lukovsky for Australia, who won the Digital Cup. And Cody, that was just such an awesome race. That last chicane was catching everybody out.
It truly was. That was kind of the key factor for the race. Whoever avoided that the most is kind of 95% sure that they were going to win. The strategy with the tires didn't really come into too much of play when you compare that to the last chicane. So yeah, just trying my best. I got caught out a couple of times myself, but
you certainly did, but then you managed to get the better of Costa Rica at the end there.
Costa Rica just did exactly what I did, and yeah, it was a real big shame. He could have won, but yeah, I'm really happy that I got my first win ever. And yeah, proud I could have done my part for Australia, so I feel amazing right now. Couldn't feel better ever.
Well, I think you're going to feel even better now because you're just about to go and get on the podium, so I'm going to let you go and walk off to the podium and enjoy it.
Yep, thank you very much.
Okay,
So in third place for the Digital Cup, it was Italy, Stefano Conti. And in second place, it was Costa Rica. We just heard from Cody there. They had the lead into the last lap, but then they couldn't keep it and spun at that last chicane. So the guys get ready to celebrate on the podium. And Cody can take his victory.
For the second podium ceremony of this FIA Motorsport Games. It's time for the virtual motorsport, the Digital Cup. The third place is for Italy and Stefano Conte, bronze medal for him. The Italian won at the third place in the podium of the first Digital Cup in the FIA Motorsport Games here in Vallelunga. The second place of the silver medal is to Costa Rica and Bernas Valverde. Compliments to Mr. Valverde for this silver medal. And obviously now it's time for the winner, the first winner, the first gold medal from Australia, Cody Lukovsky. Compliment to Cody, the winner of the Digital Cup here in Vallelunga. And now, compliments one with each other. And now it's time for the national anthem for the winner.
Okay.
So, compliments to Cody Laskowski, the gold medal of the Digital Cup. It's time for giving the bronze medal to the Italian one. Is proud of Francesco Cassioli, is the sporting manager and coordinator of ACI, Automobile Club Italian here in Vallelunga, giving the bronze medal to the Italian one, Stefano Conte. A great performance for the Italian driver, the virtual driver. And for the second place, the silver medal, is Mr. Stefan Rattel, founder and CEO of SRO. Great weekend to Costa Rica and Bernaz Valverde. And thank you, Mr. Rattel. And now it's time for the gold medal. Tom Aberex, the director of Gran Turismo Explorer Group. The gold medal to the winner from Australia, to the other side of the world, coming here in Vallelunga, Cody Laskowski, and winning the gold medal. Compliments to Hall, and all of three, obviously. Now, Guy, just a moment. They have to do the official picture to you. Okay? Let's freeze in the podium. Let's do around the world with the photograph. Thanks to the social and the internet. In a few minutes, all around the world, these three guys, the best of the world in the Digital Cup, the second gold medal of this weekend in the FIA Motorsport Games, now taking the bottle of champagne. Just a moment. And now, yeah, Guy, it's time to party!
So it's congratulations to Cody Nikola Lakowski, who takes a gold medal for Australia here at the Motorsport Games. He's enjoying every moment of that up there on the podium, and so he should. It was a tough 19 laps at Barcelona circuit. And as he said, it was really close between the top 4 countries.